Let me adjust this. Okay, there we go. Are you guys able to hear me okay? Please let me know in the comments. Let me pull this up so I can see. Awesome. All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Always love to hear it. I know I can't see you, which would be even better, but I can hear you and read your messages, which makes me really happy. So please do send them in. I'm excited to chat with you guys today. I always love doing live streams, so really stoked to get to do one today and tap in with you guys. Today I'm going to be speaking specifically about the topic of healthy boundaries and choices that we can make for ourselves in our life that help create these. And this topic kind of came to me literally, this last hour before I was going to do live streaming, and I really just felt called to speak on it because it's been in my consciousness the last few days, and I've experienced a lot of this the last year of like really having to expand myself and create these kind of more healthy dynamics in my relationships, but in specifically, even just my relationship with myself, because I've struggled, as a lot of us probably have, to create boundaries for ourselves in relationships with others, right? And so I really wanted to share a little bit about my experience with that and some realizations that I've had on that topic. Um, and thank you for joining. Hi from India. Hi Nadia. Thanks for joining. So glad you're here. Yes, H Hathi, I sent you a message on Patreon, so make sure to check that out. We'll talk there. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining, guys. So back to the topic of today, right? So the reason I really wanted to share about this is because I've been thinking a lot about how often we are conditioned or programmed to feel like we have to prioritize making other people comfortable instead of what actually feels comfortable for us or what resonates with us or what makes us feel okay or safe or happy or whatever, or even just something that we might desire or not desire in our life. Often, and I'm generalizing here, but often, especially as women in society, we struggle to voice what we actually want or what we're actually comfortable with. And so I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that today and how much I've realized how important it is in our spiritual evolution as well, of course. So in relationship, I feel that a lot of us, and let me know if this resonates with you guys, have the pattern of pleasing others, even in subtle ways, but in ways that might violate our own inner space. And this is where it gets problematic, right? Because making people happy or doing things for others, being in service to others, that's a beautiful thing. That's not a bad thing in and of itself, or there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue lies in that zone where we are now making our own selves uncomfortable, or our own selves happiness is now on the line because of something we're not willing to say about what we want or need, or behavior that we're scared to ask for change from the other in relationship to us. And this is where it gets really important to open and awaken our throat chakra, our Vishuddhi chakra, because this is where so many of us have a block of articulating what we need and what we want in relationship, particularly in partnership, right? In romantic relationships, this is a huge thing. I know for me, I've had the pattern of really, really strongly resisting asking for what I need out of fear that it's too much to ask of the other person. Fear that maybe the person won't love me if I ask for what I want or need or voice what I want or need, or that it's maybe doesn't feel safe for me to ask for what I want or need. And all of these things are not based in the reality of the relationship. They all are rooted in a fundamental root pattern that was created in childhood for me and for, a lot of us that experience this pattern with, our early childhood dynamics of feeling not unsafe in vocalizing our wants or needs in our family or with some figure of authority in our lives when we were more in that powerless state as a child, right? And maybe we felt like it wasn't safe or it wasn't allowed to be spoken about what we needed, what we wanted. And I just wanted to share, I won't go too much into it, but I just wanted to share today, kind of affirm for anyone listening that it is extremely more than okay to ask for what you want in a relationship, to ask for what you need in a relationship, and also asking those things of yourselves. It's not something to be ashamed of, to feel afraid of, or to feel like, you're judging yourself for it. It's a beautiful thing, and all it means is you're living in your liberated, realized state because getting that clarity for yourself on what you want and need first and foremost is so important. But then being able to share that with others and also not accept treatment that is under that margin or that is not in alignment, I should say, with your requests for yourself or for your relationships is so empowering. And it starts to really create more and more conscious relationships in our lives, which is, one of my favorite topics. And I think I'll make a few more videos on this topic because I've been learning so much, so much this past year about conscious relationship in a totally different dimension than I've experienced before. So I will definitely be sharing more about that with you guys. If there's anything else you wanted me to share on this, please send your questions. Otherwise, I'll get to some other questions too. But if you have anything related to this topic in particular, please let me know. And I would love to talk about it. If there's something you're struggling with or that I can shed light on in any way, let me know. Hi from Pittsburgh, Benjamin. Thanks for joining. And New Zealand, awesome. Raleigh, North Carolina. Thanks for joining. I'm great. Thanks, Prayas. How are you? Yeah. Wow, we got lots of we got a lot of big life questions in the comments. Do you have any advice on how to stay sane and happy when spending time in isolation? Yeah. This is one of the biggest challenges of this past year, right? Is that exactly you're not alone in that struggle. I actually made a video about this topic, so I encourage you to go check it out. I think you might like it. Sharing tips for sensitive people and how we can stay, in harmony during this kind of quarantine worldwide. Best constipation diarrhea assistance. Constipation-wise, you all know haritaki is my all-time favorite herb. That's why it was one of the very first herbs that I started selling in my own company in Ayurveda. That's probably my all-time favorite herb ever. It's just such a wonderful herb and amazing for preventing constipation, helping with constipation. And for diarrhea, there's quite a few herbs that are available, but even apples and bananas can really help with diarrhea. And that's just like a really natural home remedy for it. Um, what if the other person is egoic and can't understand your needs? Yeah, so this is a really good question, right? It's that slippery slope between understanding that we are responsible for our reality, right? But also acknowledging when we're not in a conscious partnership. And this is a really important differentiation. I was just watching an amazing video on this topic, so I don't want to take credit for everything I'm sharing. Shay, the lady who runs Rising Woman Instagram, she's an amazing creator on conscious relationships. She was sharing about this, and it's important to distinguish when we're not in a partnership anymore. What that means is you don't have two people actively choosing to put in the work or being self-aware and taking ownership for that relationship. So this is where I would say it's important to distinguish, right? Because a lot of times as spiritual people or as conscious people, we can fall into the trap. I've done this with myself many times that we feel because we're conscious and we're self-aware that we have to make anything work or else it's our like it's on us, right? We don't want to dodge the responsibility or the expansion or the growth. But that's a really there's a really tricky, situation there because if you get to a point where you're in that space and you're devoting everything and exhausting all your energy to that relationship, but the other person is not on the same page as you, they're not consciously willing to be doing what you're doing, nor having the conversations that you want to have, et cetera, that's important to know and to accept and to probably make a decision based on that acceptance of that, right? Knowing that this isn't going to be a partnership, this is going to be a one sided relationship. And that might not be something that you want to have in your life, right? That might not be something that's going to bring you in alignment with what you're actually seeking in that relationship. How to be happy, calm, and composed. Meditation. Spiritual practices, I would say that's the bread and butter of life, right? Bringing consciousness into all that we do, and those practices really help us infuse that consciousness into the daily life as well. What are your thoughts on polyamory? Yeah, Daryl, I have a lot of thoughts on polyamory, honestly. I think at one level, there is a huge expansiveness to it in the sense that at least I've personally experienced on my journey, evolving over these years, that my love is very limitless when I tap into its full true form. I don't feel like it could be designated only for one person. But the for me, what I've realized also is that I tend to see, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody or judging anybody who lives that lifestyle, but I tend to see that in polyamorous relationships, we actually get more consumed by lust than by consciousness because it's already takes so much self-awareness to be conscious with our own self, and it takes double that awareness to be conscious in a partnership and a relationship with another being who we're committed to and we're choosing to be committed to, right? That we're owning their patterns, we're owning their reflections, and they're now not just ours. But then to multiply that, I think can be one, very challenging for a lot of people, but two, I think sometimes we get more lost in the diversity of the sexual experience instead of the actual commitment to spiritual expansion. Not saying again that's true for everybody, but those are just my thoughts on it. That's why I don't personally feel like I would be in a polyamorous relationship because I feel like I have so much to learn from just being in a very committed partnership, and I feel like when you're in that with full authenticity and dedication, you can expand to enlightenment itself. And so I feel like that for me, that resonates for me. Do you still live in India? No, I don't. I live in California, USA. Should we focus on keeping ourselves happy or others? Personally, I find happiness in others, but maybe I miss out on a lot. There's no difference. There's truly no difference. The more that we live in service to others, enriching, as my guru always says, living the lifestyle of enriching, we will always see that come back to us. It's spoken a lot about in the Bhagavad-Gita, right? Like being in a space where we're in intense action, playing our dharma, playing our role, but detached from the results of it. So it really is doing it from a space of service, right? Doing our actions from a space of service and detaching from the results. I think that in itself not only brings us happiness and also brings others happiness, one and the same. Star Child, what are your thoughts on the COVID vaccine? Yeah, I'm not able to really speak about that on YouTube. I think I've mentioned that in another live stream if anybody else has been on those. So I gotta find a platform where I can share more about that. So stay tuned, bear with me because there is a lot that I would like to share when the time is right. And so I would say just be very aware of um, all sides of information and just keep your eyes open, right? Do a lot of research and tune out the voices that are around you and tap into what your intuition and your body is telling you. Is your lucid dreaming third eye and easily accessible ever since being awakened by your guru? Yeah, absolutely. My my kind of mystical experiences have expanded times 100 after initiation from my guru, and I literally cannot take credit for that. Like, it was not because I did any, like, "Oh, I've spent 10 years meditating or doing yoga." Like, no, I had no practices up until that point, and just because of being, awakened, initiated by an enlightened avatar, right? That flame of initiation gets transferred and so much unlocks. It's really just an incredibly beautiful experience. I'm so grateful that I have that blessing in my life. Many are covert narcissists even in the spiritual world. Any thoughts on spotting one, and should we engage to grow or run? So, yes, there is a there's a truth to that, right? But I also personally, I don't feel like throwing around these labels the way that people are doing nowadays actually is helping anybody. I think we really love, as a society now, to pigeonhole people and write people off, and we literally don't try to understand them anymore because we just want to separate. It's this duality consciousness, right? And yes, there are people very consumed by their ego. Um, that's very true, right? And I think we can feel that when we're around it. Um, but I think personally, I found that being scared of that, or even having any resistance to that, whether it's anger, irritation, judgment, only grows our own ego. Literally, such a double-edged sword. So I think it's about seeing those people as ourselves, as aspects of ourselves that are maybe more unconscious, taking responsibility for that unconsciousness and facing it with love and expansion, and being a reflection in whatever way that we can for that being. How to forget ourselves? I'm not sure about that, Sai. Um, Max, what's your opinion on astrology? Yeah, so I think astrology has been drastically taken out of context and really watered down, in the West, and that's why a lot of people feel like it's, nonsense, and it's like it's a joke because a lot of people sharing about it or teaching about it aren't actually teaching authentic astrology, and that's where I feel like it's important to know or draw the line, because the modern astrology, a lot of it isn't very accurate or realistic because it's taken out of context. That's why I trust Vedic astrology, the original, most ancient astrology. It's incredibly scientific, based on cosmology, and so powerful. I definitely encourage, if you're interested, to get a reading by somebody who is, like, really like an authentic Vedic astrologer from India. There is some amazing beings out there, and you will see the power of it. Like, it is incredible how accurate it can be, and how helpful it can be on our journeys. Hey, from France. Nice. um, what is your favorite Bhagavad Gita translation? Definitely Bhagavad Gita Decoded by Paramahamsa Nithyananda, my guru. It is such an incredible translation. Even if he's not your teacher, you don't follow him, I'm telling you, that is the most in-depth cosmic perspective view that I've ever heard explained of the Bhagavad Gita. It's so beautiful. I'm reading it right now, actually, and I read it every morning now as part of my routine, and it's just so beautiful. I actually decided that one of my next tattoos is gonna be a Bhagavad Gita verse, one of the verses, and I'm really excited for that. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah, I would agree, Greg, for the most part. I would agree. There's just a lot of things in there that why would we ever want that to enter our bodies? Nonetheless, our consciousnesses. I like to keep this vessel as natural and pure as possible personally. That's what resonates with me. Yeah, as for Ayurveda, there's no such thing as a vaccine recommendation, because that's not how we treat the body within Ayurveda. Um, it's mostly Democrat, stuck in the duality, trying to put a label on us. I mean, honestly, it's both sides. There is a lot of hypocrisy on both sides. I like to, like, say, right, the left and the right wing. are two wings on the same bird. So I really, really feel that is happening right now, especially in this yuga, this Kali Yuga time that we're in. Don't get lost in this. Even that is duality in itself. Like, oh, that side is the problem. That side is the problem. That is the problem. You understand? Do you know Sanskrit? I've been learning or at least attempting to learn conversational Sanskrit. That's beautiful. Love to hear that. I did take an intro to Sanskrit course last year, and I thought that I would have the capacity to do that while in school full time and working full time. And I really kind of overestimated myself on that. So I was very kind of scattered when I was learning it. So I really want to go back to that course that I have all the PowerPoints and things and relearn it because it's so helpful, so beautiful, and I want to continue to improve my pronunciation and all of that as well. Um, okay, going back here. I keep telling people to go to the paint store, but if you're not black or white, that's funny. We are all just souls in human bodies, right? Does Gurukul give modern education? Yes, yes. At least in my sanghas, Gurukuls, they're both modern education and traditional Gurukul education, spiritual education. Um, what if society is putting pressure on you to do something or act in a certain way, and to go against this would put you in a position of conflict? Yeah, I mean, that's a big question, right? I think you have to look inside and decide if that's something that is worthwhile for you to stand for. There are some fights that I think are a waste of energy, and there are some fights that are worth our life, you know? And so you have to know what that is for you. For each of us, that's going to be different. You have to decide what is this as a priority to me, right? And what is my role in this? You know, what is my role in all of this? Prayas, the best time for meditation, Brahma Muhurta, the very, very early time of the day. Before sunrise is the best time. Is Shakti Devi the one source of energy? Um, in one sense, yes, right? In a lot of different Hindu philosophies, the idea is that Shakti is the life that animates all things. Yes, I agree. I agree. We are all human beings on planet Earth. So to love all is in one life. Help. I'm not sure what you're asking. Sorry. Yes. I hate the misconception that the lingam is a phallus. It's not. It symbolizes infinity. Yes, it absolutely does. It's much beyond just a phallic symbol. Does it have some correlation? Yes, right? But it's from a completely not sexual or perverted in any way. It's about the life force energy, the masculine and feminine creation of all life in the universe. And it's much more than just, some crude representation of that. Oh yes, yes. I've made lots of videos on the Hindu persecution, and I actually actively speak about that on TikTok a lot more than any other platform. So if you guys don't follow me there, try to check that out. I definitely try to do a lot more on there regarding Hindu persecution. But I feel like I should probably make another updated video here speaking about it because it does need more amplification. So thank you for asking about that. I really good. Pablo, as for Hindu scripture, the earth is not flat. It is more of a sphere, but it is not like a perfect circle, so to speak. It's described more as like, yeah, an oblate spheroid, which is kind of what we know it's more accurately shaped as, but that it's also kind of a little bit more pointed than we fully can visualize, like on the edges, I believe, is how it's described in the Vedas. I don't know too much about it. But yes, also that there is a hollowness inside of the planet and other civilizations living there. And honestly, I know that sounds a little out there if you've never heard about the theory. And I used to think that was some crazy conspiracy theory, but the more that I looked into it, there's a lot of interesting stuff out there and a lot of interesting evidence. Blueprint, can you tell me what you think about the spiritual power of water and to treat it before drinking it? Thanks. Yes. The spiritual power of water. Water is literally life. I'm very, very passionate about water in our spiritual journey, actually, and how important it is. It's like truly, truly become a high priority for me to only put in extremely high quality electric water, basically, that is energized, that is in its whole state where its molecular structure is actually living and alive, like what we used to get from the mountain streams and all of that, but a lot of us don't have access to anymore. That's why I drink Kangen water. I'm really truly like very, very, very passionate about it because I can feel it. I can feel the difference in that water. I've experienced it, and I know that it's the best option out there for those of us that are living in most places in the world. If we want to have living, electrically spiritual water, that's the best source. So if you're interested in that too and you want to know more, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I would love to talk more about that. If anybody wants to talk more about it or wants to know more about the machine and all that, I can talk to you about it there. Yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you, A Living Experience. I am gonna wrap up this live now, guys. I truly appreciate you all. I'll spend like one more minute. I'm just gonna wrap up here in the comments. Nice. Have a good night. Thanks for joining. Most of the dancers live underground if I'm hearing. Awesome. Thank you guys. Well, I will. Okay, last question I'll take here is as a Hindu, do you practice celibacy or free love? I practice neither. I practice conscious love in my relationships. So, harnessing that sexual energy is extremely important and should not be missed by anybody, honestly, who is interested in spiritual growth because it's a massive source of our personal power. But there's ways that you can utilize that even while practicing physical intimacy with others. So that's what I practice. I don't practice it like just complete celibacy like a sannyasi or a monk. And neither do I practice free love because giving away that energy to a lot of people is also not a healthy way to use it. So, yes, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate you all. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. Enjoy some time in the sunlight if you can, and stay tapped into this beautiful earth that we're living on and to one another. I will see you guys on the next live stream. Again, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, etc. And if you guys want to work with me one on one, definitely feel free to reach out as well, or book me at the link in my bio. I love you guys so much. Take care, everyone. Nithyanandam.